Welcome to the Wellness Lab Digest, where we help you to absorb powerful, life-changing insights from top wellness experts with our daily bite-sized wellness podcast summaries. Each episode is packed with distilled, powerful takeaways to boost your health and well-being. To support this podcast, please scroll down on whatever app you're listening. Ratings and reviews are helpful. Even better, just send the show to a friend. Check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page, or simply click the Support the Show link below the episode description.
Food. It's not just fuel for our bodies, it's a source of immense pleasure. But what if I told you that the joy we derive from eating could actually be the key to better health and a more balanced life?
Oh, that's an intriguing idea. I've always thought of healthy eating as somewhat of a chore. Can you explain how pleasure fits into the picture?
Well, it turns out that our bodies are literally wired to enjoy food. When we eat something delicious, our brain releases dopamine, often called the feel-good hormone. This activates our reward pathways, promoting feelings of happiness and calmness. But here's the kicker. This pleasure isn't just a nice bonus. It actually has significant health benefits.
That's fascinating. So you're saying that enjoying our food is actually good for us?
Exactly. Some researchers even argue that getting enough vitamin P, and that's P for pleasure, is just as crucial as the nutritional content of our meals. When we're relaxed and enjoying our meal, our body goes into what's called rest and digest mode. This allows us to break down and utilize nutrients more effectively.
That's incredible. I had no idea that simply enjoying our food could have such a positive impact on digestion. Are there any other health benefits?
Oh, absolutely. A review of 119 studies found that the majority showed favorable associations between eating pleasure and positive dietary outcomes. Some studies even associated greater eating pleasure with higher nutritional status. It's like a positive feedback loop. Enjoying our food helps us digest it better, which in turn probably makes the whole experience more enjoyable.
Well, that certainly turns the idea of healthy eating on its head. But I'm curious, how does this fit with the concept of emotional eating? Isn't that considered unhealthy?
That's a great question. There's definitely a distinction between eating for pleasure and emotional eating. Emotional eating often involves using food to cope with difficult emotions, and it can lead to mindless consumption and feelings of guilt or shame afterward. On the other hand, when we're eating for pleasure, we're choosing food specifically to enjoy its taste, texture, and the overall experience.
So it's more about the mindset and the connection to the food?
Precisely. When we're eating for pleasure, there's a true connection and enjoyment that we're getting from the food. And importantly, it doesn't leave us feeling guilty or ashamed afterward. It's about being present in the moment and fully savoring the experience.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, this conversation has really opened my eyes to how complex and beautiful our relationship with food can be. It's not just about nutrition. It's about pleasure, connection, culture, and so much more.
You're absolutely right. And there's another aspect we haven't touched on yet, how food enjoyment connects us with our cultural heritage. For decades, research has demonstrated that a sense of belonging is vital to mental health. And what more beautiful place to experience belonging than within your family or cultural traditions?
Oh, that's such an important point. Can you elaborate on how food plays into this sense of cultural connection?
Sure thing. Our cultural foods serve as a form of connection with others and ourselves. By embracing these foods, we're not just nourishing our bodies, but also our sense of identity and belonging. It's a way of honoring our roots and celebrating our heritage. Think about it. Certain foods probably make you think of your grandmother or family traditions, right?
Absolutely. There are definitely dishes that immediately transport me back to childhood family gatherings.
Exactly. And it's important to recognize that restricting or denying these cultural foods can actually lead to feelings of disengagement and loneliness. When we label certain cultural foods as bad or off-limits, we're not just rejecting the food itself, but potentially distancing ourselves from the underlying identity associated with that food.
Wow, I've never thought about it that way before. It really highlights how intertwined food is with our sense of self and community.
You've hit the nail on the head. And this is why it's so crucial to approach food with an open mind and a sense of curiosity. Embracing the foods that are meaningful to us, whether for cultural reasons or simply personal preference, can create a sense of freedom and belonging that elevates our mental health.
This conversation has given me so much to think about. It seems like mindful food enjoyment could really transform our relationship with eating. But I'm wondering, how can people start incorporating this approach into their daily lives?
Well, one simple approach is to start small. When you're preparing a meal or snack, think about what you could do to make it even 10% more enjoyable. Maybe it's heating up a brownie, adding some goat cheese to a salad, or adjusting the consistency of your oatmeal. Small changes can take a meal from meh to yeah.
I love that idea. It's not about making drastic changes, but about tuning into what we truly enjoy and savoring those little moments of pleasure.
Exactly. And after your meal, take a moment to reflect. How much pleasure did your food provide? What positive feelings resulted from connecting emotionally with what was on your plate? These mental notes can help guide future food choices and enhance your overall eating experience.
That's fantastic advice. This whole discussion has really shifted my perspective on food and eating. It's not just about following strict dietary rules, but about finding joy and connection through our meals.
You're so right. And it's important to remember that this isn't about indulging in every craving or eating without any consideration for nutrition. It's about finding a balance that nourishes both our bodies and our souls. It's about tuning into our body's needs and desires and responding with kindness and awareness.
Beautifully put. So, to wrap things up, what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners?
I think the main message is this: food is more than just fuel. It's a source of pleasure, connection, and cultural identity. By allowing ourselves to fully enjoy our food, to savor the flavors, appreciate the textures, and connect with the emotions and memories it evokes, we're not just enhancing our eating experience, we're potentially improving our digestion, our relationship with food, and our overall well-being.
Well, I don't know about you, but all this talk about food has made me hungry. I think it's time for me to go practice some mindful eating and really savor my next meal.
That sounds like a great idea. And to all our listeners out there, we hope this discussion has inspired you to approach your next meal with a fresh perspective. Remember, it's not just about what you eat, but how you eat it. So go ahead, savor those flavors and enjoy every bite. Until next time, this is Vince, reminding you to find pleasure in the everyday moments, especially the delicious ones.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Lab Digest. If you have received value from the podcast, I have 3 asks of you. 1, share the show with your friends and send them a link to the show. 2, please leave a rating and review in whatever app you're listening. And last but not least, please let me know what topics you would like us to cover in the future. You can contact me by sending me a message using the Send Us a Text link below the episode description.